Good evening, everyone. This is Jonathan back again with another video. I appreciate you all for staying and obviously listening to this message today. Now today we're going to be talking about Jezebel Man and what exactly those kinds of spirits are, because these are demons that live inside people. And there are various ways we can tell about what a Jezebel Man actually is based upon their character, based upon what they're doing. And today we're going to be exposing the Jezebel spirit and exactly what exactly they are, because many men these days are pretty much just living baits for the Jezebel spirits to lay in. Many of which are reprobate-minded men who do these things that not even knowing that they have Jezebel spirits, or that they can actually inherit a Jezebel spirit based upon the things they do. And many of which men are just prime and ready to have these spirits dwell in them. They're fresh baits for them to lay in, because many men these days do promiscuous acts or act specific ways that provoke these spirits or entice these spirits to dwell inside of men these days. And we have so many now that are characterized by how the ways in which men are and which behave, because we live in a perverse and perverted society, a perverse and wicked society that promotes this kind of behavior, but that promotes these Jezebel spirits to dwell in everywhere, and that you can't run from them. They're going to be there however way you want to. Now the question is, how do you escape that? And that's by living a perfect life like Jesus has, and none of us has been able to do that. Now, I'm not saying that every man has a Jezebel spirit, but what I am saying is that the majority of men have Jezebel spirits. And we're going to go over the characteristics, as I said before, how you can determine what a Jezebel spirit is, and so that you can be aware, so that if you need to repent of a Jezebel spirit, you can do so right now or even after this video. And making sure that you do not become a predisposed to having a Jezebel spirit dwell in you. Now, number one is that they manifest or reveal themselves to you and right in front of you. Now, what this basically means is that they'll try to manifest themselves in front of you. And this is the case for women as well. I need to clarify this, that I will be making a separate video for Jezebel women, because Jezebel men are almost no different in terms of what their actual goal is. So they'll actually try to do something very similar with women, but they pretty much pervert the roles of what a woman and man should be. So because of that, they do behave very differently. They act very different styles of mannerisms. So we need to address that before we can even get to the video. Now, number one, they manifest themselves, which is taking off their shirts, doing perverted acts or speaking perverted things to you, or acting lustful around you or others. Now, this is the case where I've actually had men do these type of perverted things, where either they would talk very perverted things to me, or I've actually seen men actually doing perverted things, like actually perverting themselves by taking off their shirts or doing things that are lustful around, or just having like things that I would be so-called tempted to want to do because of the things that they did. And I need to stress that if you have not seen my testimony video, this will make much more sense to those that you were wondering, well, why is you talking about this? And they'll do these things to get your attention, which Satan will gladly use these puppets and run in front of you, because they're reprobated minded. And they don't know any better. So they'll do these perverted things, and they'll do it on purpose to get your attention, so that you want to look at them, and that you want to go back to your wicked ways like the demons in your flesh want you to. Number two is that They speak or act effeminate. I'm going to be more so talking about speaking effeminate in this one because this kind of goes correlating to the first one. Now, how do you know when someone's speaking effeminate is very easy. They speak effeminate because they may be acting like a woman. They may be having kind of like a slang to their voice, sort of. Like how you have most of these, like, carry these ratchet personalities on the internet nowadays. You have these personalities that are on the internet that they'll try to mock, and they'll try to mock these specific women by doing the flirtatious kind of voice, the kind of finger snapping acts, or just that kind of behavior, right? And they'll kind of try to mock or try to imitate what a woman sounds like by doing a very perverted version of, and you'll see this a lot when the flamboyant acts or characteristics. You see this a lot in the LGBT kind of community. They'll try to do these type of things, and it's very common in that realm. But when it comes to actually trying to mimic what a woman is, so they won't try to do that. They'll try to act a very they'll try to act to the most extreme possibilities of what a woman is, but not actually living the life of a woman. But they'll try to make you think that they're actually women. Number 3, bulging eyes or wide open mouth. Now, this I have to clarify again, like the rest of them. Bulging eyes could typically just because you watched porn. That's mainly the sign of Jezebel's is actively living and manifesting right inside of you. Like a demon is right in your flesh, and it's causing you to pretty much pervert every single thing you look at. This, of course, comes after the first or 2 days you watch porn. After that, they kind of settle and dwell in your flesh until they weaken and they can't do nothing anymore. And that I explained in the last video, where once you have demons in your flesh, you can actually start to cast them out and be delivered to them by not engaging in the acts that they were doing before. And so that's the initial stages of that. And I used to be a victim of this. And I'm not saying that I didn't wrestle with these. The reason why I'm making this video is because I know for a fact, based upon my own experiences, that this is how demons act. These are how Jezebels are. And so I'm not ignorant to this. I've dealt with these spirits before. And I'm still being delivered to them today. So this is not me saying I'm more righteous than anyone, because I've dealt with these spirits. I know how they act. Now, Dream 4 are pretty much the same thing, so I'm not going to really touch on much there. A wide open mouth, which means the demon's trying to breathe. It's trying to have life. Most of the time, if you have to have your mouth wide open, that's just because of the demonic spirits inside of you trying to breathe life. And not saying that's all the time. Again, you can have your mouth open when you're speaking, but most of the time it should be shut. Again, I would say there's a healthy way of breathing. You don't really have to have your mouth open to breathe. That's for talking. That's the nose. That's what the nose is for. The nose is to breathe. So if you're breathing through your mouth and you feel like you have to breathe through your mouth, it could just be because you have a demon that's living in there, that's living in your flesh, that's seeking to have an extra source of air to breathe. And I don't know how that works, but I'm just saying based upon my understanding of what they want to. Number 5, they always ask for sex or for favors. Now, the sex, this is for if you're living with a Jezebel spirit, a Jezebel man or a Jezebel woman. This could be used for either one. If the Jezebel man is always asking you for sex, then that means a demon's literally manifesting in him, literally seeking out to have sexual intercourse with that person, because that's what triggers the demon to stay in there longer. And this is when someone's literally feeding their demons by always asking for sex, always asking to do perverted things with you. And this is just the case that you have to deal with, because this is essentially what is going on. The demon's literally asking for an entryway to inflict that person with more. So when you actually are asking, when you're giving into that Jezebel man or even Jezebel woman asking you to have sex with them, you're feeding into their demons more, to act more perverted, to do more wicked things, and to have more of the symptoms of a Jezebel spirit, and the more the things on the list that we're going to get into, to make that person even more demon possessed and worse off than they were before. So don't give in to, don't let that person tempt you with their sexual appeal, or them asking for sex to not hurt their feelings, because that's only going to worsen them and have them even more demon possessed than they were before. Because the Bible says 7 more spirits will come into that person when they see that the flesh is swept up and garnished. And if they're doing if they're doing more perverted things, they're gonna have more demons enter into them and to become more demon possessed and worse off than they were before, 7 times worse. They'll always ask for favors. Now this is just, if they're asking you for favors, then that also means that they don't want to do the work themselves. If they're asking you, that just typically means that they, in a sense, that they don't want to actually work for what they're doing. They're asking you to do everything. But I want to get into that one a bit later down the list. Number 6 is they want attention. They want attention, and this is just the case for any Jezebel spirit, and really Jezebel spirits are all they are, narcissists. If you know what a narcissist person is, you know what a Jezebel spirit is. That's just determined psychologically, but that's what a Jezebel spirit is, a narcissist. Now, of course, they have other acts, so that's not entirely what they are, but they are, in a sense, always act upon the narcissist traits. So they want attention, they have a clingy personality, which means they're hard to get rid of because they're always seeking, I'm kind of going down the list, they want validation, they want acceptance from other people. So they'll always cling on to you because they know they can take advantage of you. They want to take advantage of whoever they can, and they'll build like different sects, like they build different covenants with people. They'll build leagues, they'll build people that fight against you so that they can get their way. And they'll always try to make you the victim of what you're dealing with, of what exactly it is that they want to take advantage of you. They always want to have control. They always want to take advantage of your weaknesses. They'll try to find your weaknesses so that they can take advantage of you. And they'll also make it so that you can't leave their presence without them knowing. So in a sense, they always want you to tell them what you're up to so that they can be aware of it and plan ahead. And that's what the Jezebel spirits do. They're controlling, they're manipulative, and they want power over you. And they'll use whatever resources, whatever possessions they have to take advantage of you, to stop you from doing what they don't want you to do. That's how Jezebel spirits operate, and that's their primary trait, is the controlling aspect. They want to control everything you're doing because they don't like what you're doing, or they don't like the fact that they don't have control over you. They want to own you. And they don't trust you. They don't trust you to make those decisions on yourself. No, they want your whole surrenderance to them. They want to be worshipped. They want to be loved in an extreme way. And they want to be idolized. Because that's what the Jezebel spirits prey on, is your weakness, your idolatry to them. They'll use sexual appeal, which means, like I said, they'll always be asking for sex, or even dressing provocatively in front of you. They'll even do that. So they'll even try to make themselves look lustful or appealing to get your attention, so that they can essentially have you in their grasp. They'll use their sexual appeal as a way of controlling you, taking advantage of you. And that's what these Jezebel spirits. I mean, look, they're all online. They're all over the internet. They're all on the internet. And just the same as there's Jezebel women on the internet, there's Jezebel men on the internet too. That are looking for sexual appeal because they want to have as many people victim to them as they possibly can. Even if they don't know you, or even if they don't, but they'll use that so that they can feel more valued, more loved. And it's so that they can be, in a sense, they can use that as an excuse for their behavior, or to justify their actions of what they're doing. Pulling on your strings, emotions, they'll try to make themselves look bad. They'll try to say, it's not my fault. or that how do you think I feel about this? They'll always use themselves. If they can't get anyone else to tear you down, they'll use themselves. They'll say, well, this doesn't make me feel good. Think about how I feel. Think about what this means to me. They will never use their logical or reasonable sense. They'll always use emotions to get you to be on prey with them. So you have to be very cautious about that. They prey on your emotions, and they'll use theirs to get ahead of you and take advantage of you. And they'll use whatever weaknesses they know you have. They'll pull on your strings and your emotions, and they'll use different things that they know that you love or you love to do, or things that you're weakness to. They take advantage of your weaknesses against you. That's what I'm trying to say. And they'll use themselves. Think about how I feel. Think about, and they'll even dread to leave you. They'll dread to leave you if they're not getting their way. They'll dread to break up with you. They'll dread to take the family with them if you're in a family. They'll try to take your income. They'll threaten your livelihood. And most of the time, these Jezebel spirits love to call the cops. I hear that all the time. They'll always try to some sort of authority over them. They have to have some power over them. So they'll use the authority that they can get a hold of to get you to fall victim into their ways and get you to doing what they want you to do. So that you're bound to them, and that they're your stronghold essentially. See, when you marry or date a Jezebel spirit, you become afflicted with that strong. It's exactly the same thing as if you were actually to live a promiscuous lifestyle. They want to be the stronghold in your life. They want control over you, because again, the Jezebel spirits, all they seek is power and manipulation. They want to have as many people pray to them as possible. And so they'll actually use other people so that you can become just as Jezebel spirit led and bound as they possibly can, so that even if they don't have you in their flesh, they'll use the people that you have around them. If you're married to a Jezebel spirit, that inflict you more and be more likelihood to be tempted and fall into their ways as much as possible, so that you become more wicked like they are, so to become more influenced by their actions as much as possible, and live accordingly to how they want you to live. Because that's what they do. They try to get you to fall back into your old ways, fall back into the ways that they want you to live. Forcing you to stay with them. Number 7. Oh, and also the codependency. So not only will they be clingy, but they'll have a codependency on you. That's a key trait we're going to get into again, which is everything, that they love to have company around them. If they're alone, that's not helping them at all to be able to do their will. They need to have people around them so that they can be influencing those people to do exactly what they want them to do. And they'll use innocent prey, people that probably aren't influenced by the Jezebel spirit, or that are just as wicked as they are. So again, to turn on you. They'll use whatever they can to have people turn on you so that you can seem like the victim, and that they can control you and confuse you to doing what they want you to do, and thinking there's something wrong with you, when in reality it's not. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just that they want you to behave a certain way so they can control you. Number 7, dressing provocatively, wearing light clothing, wearing shorts in cold weather. These are just some examples here again, which I'm just naming. A lot of times, these Jezebel spirits, really you can tell them by what they wear. You can tell by what they wear. If a man has to wear tight clothing to feel valid, and this is again to get attention, of course. If a man has to wear tight clothing, he has to wear these, muscle shirts, these kind of tank tops, or t-shirts, whatever the case is. If he has to wear shorts, or be always going to the gym, or always doing these things to get attention from other people. And if he has to expose himself in a certain way to get other people's attention, that's a Jezebel. That's him having a Jezebel spirit. So even if a man doesn't dress modestly, if a man that dressed modestly is a man, by the way. Now, I'm not saying anyone that wears a t-shirt has a Jezebel spirit. What I'm talking about is a tank top. Like, kind of like a wife beater shirt, in a way. If a man has these things, if a man's dressing pervertedly, and he's purposely trying to get you to look at him by what he's wearing, by what he's revealing, you know, whether he's built or not, but he could just be wearing tight clothing or whatever the case is, then that man has a Jezebel spirit, by far. And again, I can't say that everyone who wears a muscle shirt or a tank top has a Jezebel spirit, or even not tight clothing, obviously, but I'm talking about like shorts. No, not everyone that wears shorts has a Jezebel spirit. However, I would strongly suggest that anyone who does wear any kind of shorts or tank tops will probably have most likely have Jezebel spirits. Always focus on themselves, their needs, completely ignorant or unconcerned or unaware of others' needs. This is again that pridefulness, that selfishness attitude that a lot of these Jezebel men, if not all of them, share. They would rather them care for themselves than care for you. If you're in the way of them actually doing what they want to do, they'll tell you to get off. They won't want to be bothered. And they'll rise up an argument when you do try to press them on that. But why does everything have to be about you? Why do you have to be focused on yourself? Why can't you be concerned about how the well-being of us too? And this is mostly in relationships, I should stress. But this is not the norm for everyday living. In other words, just because a man decides to do something for himself doesn't mean he has a Jezebel spirit. No, it has to be continuous. It's a continuous thing. Or if it's always about you, or it's always about the well-being of myself, then that means that man has a Jezebel spirit in him. And that means that, obviously, you should be running away from him. Because it always has to be about him. It's never about the well-being of us two. No, it's always about his needs, and his needs are for you. And he doesn't take the time to address your needs. He doesn't take the time to address what can really be beneficial for the well-being of the relationship, or or even a friendship. So you have to be wary and cautious for both. Number 9, they always argue. Yeah, they argue a lot. Believe me, I've seen arguing before. They'll always try to make an argument for you when you're in a relationship with a Jezebel man. They'll always argue. They'll always try to make themselves speak. They can never be wrong. They can never be wrong. And when they are proven wrong, they use whatever they can to not be wrong. So these are Jezebel spirits that are living in these people. They're always Jezebel spirits. And look, they'll always try to argue because they're not content in their lives. They cannot be fine. They cannot be content unless they're making people miserable. Unless they're proven right and their sweet spots are savored. Number 9 is that they'll always argue. They'll always try to puff themselves up, be boastful. And again, they'll always be on the phone with you. Because I've seen this before where Jezebel men are just on the phone and they constantly have to argue with you. I don't know what it is, why they have to always argue. But they'll always raise up conflicts, strifes, contentions, quarrelings, dissensions, discord among you, and they'll even do it with your friends too. They'll always argue with your friends that you have. They'll want to have your phone, your bank account, your email address, all this type of personal information, so that they can have control over your personal life and dominate over you, and do what they want you to do. And they'll do this to destroy you. To destroy your good intentions, to destroy who you are, so that you become bound and into their stronghold like they want you to be. And become more wicked. Become just as bad as they are. Number 10, they make a scene if they don't get their way. Again, always arguing, but they'll make a scene right in front of you. It could be a church, even. It could be a church. It could be your house. It could be somewhere out. It could be outdoors. But they'll always make a scene because they don't care. They'll even do it to get attention, validation, so that people can turn against you. They'll even do it so that they can turn against you. And so they'll see what you're They'll see what you're doing, and they'll do it in the hopes that they'll see that they can be expressed in the light. So they can they can be the victim, and you can be the person that they want people to attack. So they'll do it so that they can have as many people turn against you as possible. And that's how wicked these spirits and that's how wicked these spirits can be. That's how much wicked they can be. Number 11, they act feminine. They're soft-spoken. These are more introverted personalities, I should say, that are more soft-spoken. A lot of most of the ones we've gone over have been very extroverted personalities. You'll see they're more expressive, more argumentative when they're more working in a vessel that's more extroverted, that's more outgoing. But a lot of introverted Jezebel spirits, again, won't exhibit all of these. They'll be more timid, more quiet, soft-spoken, to themselves, just acting very feminine, talking like a woman, wearing makeup or eyeliner, very extreme personalities, putting on women garments, cloths, acting out of emotion, again, very women-esque traits. Women are the more emotional side of things, so men with Jezebel spirits will act out of emotion and will hardly use their logic or reasoning to make good decisions, or using the Ten Commandments to discern what's right and wrong. And ditching their honor and integrity to follow after their own pridefulness or their lustful intentions. Number 12, they're always dependent on the woman to do everything. They always want the woman to do things. They'll never take accountability for themselves and say, this is what a man should do. I should be doing this. They'll say, no, the woman should do everything because it's the wife. It's the head of the house, essentially. Not to say that every man that wants a woman to cook for him, has a Jezebel spirit. Because that's how it used to be. Even like the women would tend the farms in the Bible. So that was never something that was wrong to do. But if the man has to have the woman do everything in the house, that definitely means that the man's he's a Jezebel spirit. That he's demonically possessed with a Jezebel spirit. And the fact that he has to have the woman do everything in the house. You know, the chores, the cleaning, the grocery shopping. While the man just simply takes care of the bills, for example. Or even he'll tell the woman to do the bills. Or just, the man will only do one thing, but then he'll have the woman do everything else. That's a sign of a Jezebel spirit because he's controlling, manipulative, and lazy. And sluggish. And again, having that controlling mechanism that he wants to have whatever he wants to do and being selfish and egotistical. That's not a good thing at all. So, in a sense, roles are reversed in this sense. Number 13, they're never agreeing. So, even when they are agreeing, it's very rare that you'll agree with someone. They'll always argue, like I said before. Never agreeing with what you have to say. They'll always find something to nitpick. So that you're not essentially... They'll have to find something to target you with, to attack you with. And that's what I want to do, is to make you the bad guy, to make you the one... takes the accountability for. They don't want to take accountability. They'll have you take accountability while they're the victim. Always blaming you for the problem. We've gone over that. They sleep with other women or watch porn or lust after women. This can go for lusting after men. Yeah. Any gay man, any man that's attracted to another man has a Jezebel spirit. So that's already, you don't even need to really go further into depth with that. But if a man is sleeping with another woman, watching porn or lusting after women, he's already got a Jezebel spirit. You don't even need to think about that much farther, because you already know he's got a Jezebel spirit. And it could be with a man too. If a man's lusting after another man, if a man's watching porn with man in it, and if a man's having sex with other men, that automatically means that he has a Jezebel spirit in him. So that's just 3 easy signs. If you don't take anything, that's just 3 easy signs right there. But they're all kind of intercorrelated with each other, because it's just acting. Again, it's in motion. Now, number 16 is interesting. They frequently smile or laugh at things that are not funny. And why is that? It's because they are demonically possessed. They're possessed with a Jezebel spirit who doesn't take things seriously. That always just wants to pervert things. They want to pervert things as much as possible. So they'll laugh at certain things. They'll find something funny when it's not funny at all. They'll laugh at someone's misery, because that's what they want. They want you to be miserable. They want anyone they can to be in a miserable position. And they'll find joy in lusting over different men, whether or not it's TV shows, whether or not it's literally Pornhub, whether or not it's Instagram or TikTok. They'll laugh at that stuff, because it's feeding them. It's feeding the flesh. It's feeding the demons that are in your flesh. So they'll laugh at whatever they can that's pleasing to them. If it's someone else's misery or someone else that's dealing with a similar spirit that they're dealing with, they'll laugh at that. And they'll just find something funny. It's like you could just be talking with them and they'll find something funny about that, because they're planning something in their heads to take advantage of you or do something perverted in your presence. So you have to be wary and cautious about that. Cold shivers on the back. Yeah, that's a sign that a Jezebel spirit has already entered into you. If a Jezebel spirit is entering inside of you, you feel cold shivers. That's not to say that they can't do that while they're in your flesh, but when they're just entering inside of you, you'll find yourself having cold shivers in the back specifically. It's just how it works, and that's how they operate. Not much to say about that. The last one we're going to go over, which is needing validation, having low self-esteem. They find it hard to love people. Gone over that. They don't want to love you, which is the complete opposite of what we just said. And always needing someone to talk to. If a man can't be content with what he has, if he always has to have something or someone to talk with, he's not a Jezebel spirit. I mean, look, I've been gone through this before. The need to always have someone to be affiliated with. If a man can't find solace and comfort in the presence of the Lord and of Jesus, then that's a sign right there. He's depending on, he's idolizing something that's not of God, and he's being influenced by Jezebel spirit as we're talking. See, not every Jezebel spirit has to be controlling or manipulative. They could just be controlling yourself, especially if you are aware of the triggers and the signs of a Jezebel spirit. And that's what they'll do. They'll actually take control over you. If they can't have you take control over someone else, they'll take control over you, so that you're idolizing other men, other things instead of God. And so you'll always be needing to have someone to talk to, because they don't want you to talk to God. They want you to talk to other people. So again, they can have you influence those people and turn them away from God, or turning against people that they don't want you to be around, or they don't want that person to be around. And low self-esteem, which is you'll get the thoughts of having hatred towards yourselves, not feeling loved, or just stuff like that. And they'll try to make you not love yourself so that you can give in to them and look at porn or lust over this man and find attractions in just perverted ways. They want you to find love in a perverted and wicked ways that they want you to. So that you can go away from God, and it said find love the way that they want you to. Yeah. Everyone, I forgot to mention one last trait of the Jezebel spirit in men, which is the sucking of the lips, or kind of like the chameleon tongue. Now, this is a trait when the Jezebel spirit that's in men is just ready and prime and ready to start saying something really perverted or wicked. You can know very well that a Jezebel spirit is about to talk when you hear the chameleon tongue. I haven't had kind of a trait with it, but it's the sucking of the tongue. When you're licking the lips, you can tell by that a Jezebel spirit is about to manifest into that in that person, that they're going to say something really perverted or disgusting, or that they're agreeing with what you're saying and that they're interested in a perverted way, in a sense, that what that thing that you're about to say, that one thing that you said really attracted that spirit to start manifesting in that person, and now that person is going to start talking from that spirit. Now, this isn't always the case, like I have to stress with all of them, but it's a clear trait that a Jezebel spirit is in someone when you have licking of the lips, because that in itself is a sign of spiritism inside of a person that's being controlled by that person. Now, of course, why is that the case? Because that's how they essentially grasp for air. That's how they're able to live. They live through you. So, of course, they're seeking out behaviors like a reptilian would. And the reptilian spirit, which is really just any demonic spirit, to be honest with you, because reptilians themselves are what? The serpents, the same as the serpents. And they're very much alike in the sense that there are reptilians in a sword that manifest into different, they kind of form different shapes. But that's all I wanted to say on that topic. And before I end this video here, I want to talk about why these spirits are called Jezebels. Why do we call them Jezebels? And to do that, we're actually going to use the Bible here to explain this. And we're going to go to 1 Kings 21, or 3 Kings 21 in the Douay Rheims version. And we're going to look at this ourselves and see the story of Ahab and Jezebel. Because Jezebel was actually a real person in the Bible. And Jezebel was a wicked woman. They both of them were serving Baal, which is the devil, literally, and they were over Israel and Jerusalem, causing them to sin, which is one of the many kings of that nation. And we're going to go over the story. I'm just going to read it plainly, and we're going to see exactly what caused these two people to have the infamous names that they have. Now, I'm just going to read the first couple lines of... We're just going to start from the beginning. And after these things, Naboth the Jezreelite, who was in Jezreel, had at the time a vineyard near the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. And Ahab spoke to Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard, that I may make a garden of herbs, because it is nigh, or close by, and adjoining to my house, and I will give thee for it a better vineyard. Or if thou think it be more convenient for thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money, which is saying, if I can't own it, just I'll give you the money for it. Naboth answered him, The Lord be merciful to me, and I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And Ahab came into his house angry and fretting because of the word that Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him, saying, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And casting himself upon his bed, he turned away his face to the wall, and would eat no bread. Again, being emotional, just literally lying in his bed crying instead of actually doing something. He just said, I'm not going to eat anymore. I'm so sad. I'm so upset. What if he did? I'm going to literally make myself appear like I'm suffering, when in reality, I'm not suffering. I just didn't get what I want. And that's a trait Jezebel will always do in these men. They'll try to literally do things to get your attention. So again, like they always try to do things to get your attention, so that they can see that you're causing them suffering, and that you can. And they'll do these acts so that they can make it seem as though they're hurting more than they actually are, and that they can have, so you can have sympathy on them and prey into their ways. That'll always be something they'll try to do, as wanting you to have sympathy for them when they don't deserve it. And Jezebel's wife went unto him and said to him, What is the matter that thy soul is so grieved? And why eatest thou no bread? And he answered her, I spoke to Nabal the Jezreelite, and he said to him, Give me thy vineyard, and take money for it. Or if it please thee, I will give thee a better vineyard for it. And he said, I will not give thee my vineyard. Then, and this is important, Jezebel's wife said to him, Thou art a great authority indeed, and governest well the kingdom of Israel. So he could have done something. He was the governor of Israel. Arise and eat bread, and be of good cheer. I will give thee the vineyard of Nabal the Jezreelite. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name, and sealed them with his ring, and sent them to the ancients and the chief men that were in the city, and that dwelt with Nabal. And this was the tenor of the letters: Proclaim a fast, and make Nabal sit among the chief of the people. And suborn 2 men, sons of Belial, against him, and let them bear false witness, that he had blasphemed God and the king, and then carry him out, and stone him, and so let him die. Accusing you of doing things, again, another trait of Jezebel, which is accusing you of doing something when you didn't actually do it. They will actually lie. If they can't find anything to take advantage of you, they will lie right in front of your face about things you didn't even do. Or they'll make up some story so that they can get other people to turn against you, or to think that you have something wrong with yourself. So they will also lie to you right in your face to make it seem as though you're actually the one that did this thing, when in reality you didn't do it at all. But you're just if you're just foolish enough to believe it, they'll take advantage of your foolishness and weakness. They'll take advantage of your weakness and use your foolishness against yourself to make you believe these things about yourself, so that they can control you again. And the men of the city, the ancients and nobles that dwelt with him in the city, did as Jezebel had commanded them, and it was written in the letters which he had sent to them. And yada yada yada. They sent to Jezebel saying, Nabal is stoned and is dead. So yeah, they killed the man, and he got the vineyard. Now it was the reason why Jezebel is so specifically used today. Why these spirits of Jezebel? Because they're really just spirits of Jezebel. The Jezebel spirit first worked in that woman to do the will of a man. Now compare that to Saul of the book of Samuel or 1 Kings in the Doy Reims. The Jezebel spirit... Now Saul did kill men. Now he wasn't just. He was not just in doing that. But he took it upon himself to kill the men that he thought were evil. And again, he was just as wicked and stubborn as the other men. At the time he was trying to kill David, which was a righteous man, obviously God-fearing, and he was very humbled. So when he did these things, he didn't rely on the wife that he had to do them. No, he took it upon himself to at least kill the people who he thought were wicked, to try to kill David. But no, Ahab, in his foolishness and his stubbornness and obviously masculine ways, relied on his wife to do the will of him that he could have done, because he was in power. He had the control to do it. But he had to rely on what Jezebel was doing. He had to rely on his own wife to falsely accuse this man so that he can be killed and he can have the vineyard, the inheritance of his fathers. And that's why today many people like these Jezebel women act like Jezebel did. They are the controlling ones. They do try to do things that man try to do, and try to make them fall away, prey to their wicked ways. And that's pretty much about it. I'm all just gonna say today. Thank you all for watching, and obviously, much is appreciated. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back in the next video for another topic, and hope you guys enjoyed this video. God be with you.